essentially written all of my album and got it coherent and the story was there and all of that. I've now deleted half of it. What do you think is the best way to approach labels? Yeah, I'm disappointed in you for that. Your kitchen is fully stocked. What do you cook for them? Oh, please make another record label. Hey guys, welcome to the Kane audio vlog. It's Friday, it's time for another Ask Me Anything. Usual rules apply, comment anything you want below this video and I'll get back to you in next week's video. Before I look at last week's video, is there any house admin? What have I been doing this week? I have, so if you remember the last couple of weeks I've been talking about the fact that I had essentially written all of my album and got it coherent and the story was there and all of that. I've now deleted half of it. I had 12 tracks, I've knocked it down to 6 and I'm rewriting some to replace the 6 I took out. I say deleted, I've put them aside, I'm kind of reworking it. So yeah, I thought I was finished and I'm not really, so yeah, that's annoying, but hopefully it's for good reasons, because I just feel that I can do better, basically. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. However, on that note, there were a few tracks from what would have been my album that went into the lots of IDs in a row mix that I did for Mousetrap. Any of you guys who support my Patreon, link below, will have already had access to that mix, but it has now, a month later, gone public on the Mousetrap Mixcloud accounts. Go to mixcloud.com/mousetrap, I assume. I'll put a link below this video anyway. So that is out now if you want to listen. Hackintosh, we haven't got any further, but we will soon. I think I did a second video actually and was waiting to post that, or did I don't remember. I've got more videos to do on that anyway, so that's coming up soon. Again, that's exclusive to my Patreon followers, so if you're not on my Patreon, then again, link below this video. And that is it for house admin. I think this week is going to be a fairly short one, she said. So yeah, let's get on with it. Starting at the top, Gold Toast. Boom! High five. Hey Dom, as someone who has never contacted a label before, what do you think is the best way to approach labels? Do you have any tips or tricks to increase your chances of getting a track signed? Thanks. First and foremost, be good. Secondly, don't be bad. So, I look, I'm obviously joking, but in all seriousness, I don't know how to explain in any more detail, but when I was running a record label, you would be surprised by some of the demos I would get through. Now, I'm not saying they were poor quality necessarily, but they were just totally inappropriate. So, you know, as a label doing, well, whatever it is I do, the kind of boundary between house, tech house and techno, they're all the same thing really. 4/4 underground club music, I guess, is how I would best describe it. And I was getting demos from drum and bass producers to ambient electronica producers to orchestral stuff or orchestral sounding stuff. I'd get the odd jazz demo, I'd get bands. I still now, bearing in mind, if you go to kaneaudio.com and look at my studio, I list services available like mix downs and engineering sessions, It's all strictly electronic. It's syncs work and sound design, and yet I get demos sent to that email address from bands, rock bands in America, who want to get signed. Well, there is so much wrong with that. First of all, if you're in a rock band, then I'm not the guy for you. Second of all, if you're in America, then I'm not the guy for you, and this isn't the studio for you. Third of all, if you're looking to get signed, why are you sending demos to a studio? If you've already recorded your work, unless you're looking to hire a studio, I could understand if a band was sending me a demo saying, this is our rough recording, we want a better recording, can we hire your studio? But they're not. They're saying, we want to get signed, can you support us, or whatever? And I have no idea why they think that contacting me is appropriate for that. So if I compare that to record labels, you need to be 100% sure that your track is what that label should be releasing. And I think we all sometimes become a little bit blind to how good or bad our music is. So that is a tricky one. And you know, I've used this as an example before, actually. I sent my first demo to Mousetrap probably 4 years before I got signed to Mousetrap. And actually looking back, and I've said this before, looking back to the first track I sent them, they were right not to sign it. It wasn't right for Mousetrap. I thought, for a fleeting moment, I thought it was, and so I sent it to them, and actually it turned out that wasn't right. So, you know, luckily I knew the guys at Mousetrap, so it wasn't a big deal. And then secondly, to follow that up, I think it's important to point out that I don't think I sent them another demo for maybe another year, 2 years, 3 years. Yeah, probably 2 or 3 years at least. Because it was, I think I then got one that they said they really liked but wanted a couple of tweaks, and it wasn't 100% there, but I knew I was close. And then the third demo I sent was running out, I think, which got signed. So I think there's a couple of things in there to look back and analyse. First of all, don't give up. If you don't hear back from your first demo, or you don't get a response, then don't give up. But also equally, don't pester, and that's another perhaps more important rule. So yeah, hopefully those are some tips. So as an actual guide, I would say you need to also understand that if you're approaching a well-known record label, then you're amongst thousands of other people, and they can only release X amount per month. So, you know, they can be fussy, and they will be fussy, and there will be lots of record labels that just don't even respond. It bugs me too, but there are labels out there that just don't respond. And I think if, you know, when you're dealing with a label, let's say Mousetrap, for example, from experience, I get hounded by people asking for a contact at Mousetrap. You know, I dread to think how many demo submissions they must get, people trying to push on them, let alone inappropriate submissions. So I think it's a tricky one, because we're probably the worst judges of our own music. I hope we're the worst judges of our own music. So this is where I've said before, where I think collectives are a great idea. And you know what? In fact, while I'm talking to collectives, the Kane producer group on Facebook, join that group. Ask them, what label would you suggest? You know, if you, for example, you've written a track and you think it would be ideal for, well, I'll say Mousetrap, post it in that group and say, I want to send this to Mousetrap. Does everyone agree that this belongs on Mousetrap? You might find that hopefully some people will be honest and go, actually, maybe it's not, or maybe it is, or I don't know. So yeah, because you don't want to be approaching a label inappropriately, because there's nothing more annoying on the other end for that label. That person is working hard to manage a label. The last thing they want is, tracks being sent to them that are just completely the wrong genre or the wrong sound or just nowhere near ready yet. So yeah, and I would say strike up a conversation first. If you can, I think it's always better to strike up a conversation with the A&R manager and ask them a couple of basic questions. Keep it short, keep it simple. But maybe, obviously, how do you strike up a conversation with someone you've not met? Give them a couple of sentences, who you are, how long you've been producing, because it's kind of important, the story. So, if you're 15 and you've only been producing for 6 weeks, then that's an important thing, because if you're a great producer, then that's huge. Or if you're 50 years old and you've been producing for 30 years, that's equally important, because it shows you've got the experience or whatever. So, give your age, how long you've been producing. Obviously, if you've released on a bunch of amazing labels, then mention that first. Or if you've had support from some big DJs that you think they might like, then mention that. Just like I say, keep it short, a couple of sentences, and ask them, how do they like to get their demos? Would they like a Dropbox link? Would they like it to be downloadable or streamable? Do they want a SoundCloud link? Do they want a SoundCloud private link? Different people want different things. So, I tend to make sure that you don't attach an MP3. Never attach an MP3 to an email. And the reason for this is because most big A&R managers I know are constantly traveling around the world. And if you send them big attachments in their email, it eats up their data on their phone, and you've just pissed them off without even knowing. So that's really the fundamental reason why you shouldn't attach big files to emails these days, because they land in another country and check their email, and you've just eaten up all their data. What else can I suggest? I think that's probably about it. But basically, you want to try and stand out, and I guess I've always said a handshake is worth 1,000 emails. So if you can, I'll give you an example. I've spoken to a label very recently, and the project is quite a hefty project. It's not something that I can just explain in a couple of short sentences. So my opening email to this label was, I've got a project, here's who I am and how I've got your details through this team and blah, blah, blah. I'm signed to Mousetrap, I work for Moog, I do this, that and the other. I do, name drop a couple of things, whatever's good on your catalogue. And then I think I pretty much said, look, I've got this project. Here's a very one-sentence explanation, but there's so much more to it. Maybe we can have a chat on the phone, or I can pop down to your office, or whatever's good for you. I know that the office of this company is the other end of the country, but I'm willing to go there if it means that this project gets seen. So I guess that's one way of standing out. And in fairness, they've got back to me partially. So I think that's a bit of a tried and tested method. To stand out these days, making a phone call or knocking on the door will definitely make you stand out. I think that's probably the best advice I can ever give anyone for getting signed to a label. Best of luck. Next, Cavalcade. Cheers, Dom. Boom. High five. I'm really hoping Daft Punk come out of live tour retirement. Some friends saw the Alive tour and I stupidly didn't buy a ticket for that one. Regretted it ever since. I'm not surprised. I'm disappointed in you for that. Yeah. About the Bitwig 3.1 update, a lot of people seem to be questioning the appeal of the micro-pitch features, but Bitwig seem to have spotted trends in music and developed tools to help composers and producers who are making it. Maybe that's not the kind of music a lot of house, techno, EDM producers are making, but that's not a reason for Bitwig not to provide those features. Yeah, exactly that. And I think we sometimes maybe get a bit too self-involved in the house, tech house, whatever scene. That's not the only kind of music out there. Far from it. So things like micro pitches, they're important to me because I deal with recreations of orchestral sounds and ambient electronica, things like that. So for me, micro pitches are hugely important because getting that natural tonality to something as simple as a snare drum, or getting it something to sound like it's got that retro, gritty, analog feel, just slight pitch adjustments can make a world of difference to things like that. Whereas, to your average club, house, banger, whatever, that's not important. So yeah, you're right. I strongly believe that they should continue working towards their vision of what differentiates Bitwig Studio in the very crowded dorm market. 100%, I agree. I can't think of a music-related question, so here's a silly one, okay? You're home alone and some friends turn up unexpectedly, having broken down nearby and needing shelter from a storm that's coming. Your kitchen is fully stocked. What do you cook for them? No ordering food in due to the storm. I do cook a fair bit, actually. I make a pretty mean burrito. I am a huge burrito connoisseur. And I've probably mentioned that before because I'm sure I've mentioned the going to festivals and spending hundreds of pounds on burritos. More recently, I have nailed pork crackling, a good roast pork with crackling. I finally managed to nail how to get the entire crackling to crackle. So yeah, maybe that. Yeah, I'm getting hungry now. Yeah, I'm a big foodie. I like my food. Otherwise, do you know what? You can't go wrong with some good, homely, some smoked salmon in a carbonara sauce with pasta. Yeah, that'd be a good one for a storm. Or all the above. All the above. I'm getting hungry. I need to start going back to the gym, don't I? P.S. Now that you're making notes, here's your weekly reminder to watch The Expanse. New tab, The Expanse. Was this on Amazon Prime? Yeah, it was. See, that's why I haven't watched it. It's because I don't use Amazon Prime. I have Amazon Prime. I use the delivery aspect, especially because in Manchester we get the same day delivery, so I could order something right now and have it by 9 p.m. tonight. Yeah, The Expanse. I need to get into that. I will try and get some in this weekend if I can. Unlikely. There's big UFC and AJ Ruiz fight. We'll see. What else? PPS. Sorry, all my recent comments are edited. YouTube seems to have started putting extra lines in there, which messes with my OCD. I can't see that you've edited. Oh, I can. Yeah, it says brackets edited. I don't look for that, to be honest, on YouTube. It's fine. I literally just read these out on the day. So yeah, you're okay with that. Zombo. Oh, please make another record label. I would love to send some demos there for release. I've been talking to someone else about this week. It would be a lot better than the record labels out there and streamlining the process of signing and getting paid. Have a great weekend. Yeah, so it's been playing on my mind for a while. And I feel like I've been preaching a lot in these AMAs especially about how I feel like the music industry the tide is turning a little bit, and I feel like people are starting to focus a bit more, or maybe it's just the people around me, I don't know, but I feel like people are starting to focus a bit more on quality rather than quantity, which means, the club bangers and whatever are still out there and doing their thing, and that's all well and good. Maybe it's me at my age and my career position. I'm in a very fortunate situation where I kind of feel like I don't need to create club bangers, and I feel like tying that in with maybe setting up a long-term goal of a slow-growing organic record label that focuses just purely on a small group of people and high-quality output. So it's not about huge marketing campaigns. It's not about churning out release after release after release. And I feel like so many record labels these days are just signing new artists left, right, and centre just because they made one good track. Whereas I feel like I really want to set up a record label that focuses on people who are able to recreate that quality track time and time again at their own pace. And I feel like, as a music listener, I think this is where it stems from. As a music listener, a consumer, I want to hear that. I want to follow a record label that has an output. So, one that maybe 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 artists at the most, just consistently put out good music. And I feel like I wouldn't say it's missing. No, it is missing. Let's be honest. I can think of maybe 2 or 3 labels that do that right now, maybe 4 or 5 at a push. And considering there are millions of record labels out there these days, I feel like that's not anywhere near enough. And now we live in a world where, again, I've preached about Spotify, for example, and the longevity of releases now. It's not about that Beatport #1, because that doesn't really mean much in sales. It's more about, for me personally anyway, and I want my music, and again, doing this album, I want my album to have some sort of a legacy where, and I don't mean that, I hope that's not coming across in too much of an egotistical way, but what I mean by that is, in maybe 5 or 10 years time, a couple of you guys who have followed me for ages will listen back to my album when it's 5 or 10 years old and go, oh, yeah, do you know what? That Dom Kane was all right. That's all I can ask for in life. I don't need any more than that. So it's I think it's the kind of counterculture to the whole throwaway culture that we have at the moment. So, thank you for your request of setting up a record label. It's definitely playing on my mind right now. Whether I do it or not is another thing. I need to find some good quality distributors who actually listen to record labels. I don't care for aggregates. I don't care for a distributor that just goes, we put it out to 1 million shops. I just don't care for that. I want an intimate relationship with a distributor, if I'm going to have one at all. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But like I say, I think, it's 2019. We need to have things like automated royalties. And I think also the record label shouldn't be taking as much as 50%. I think that needs to change these days, especially if I can automate the processes and whatever. So yeah, there's a lot to think about, but yeah, it's definitely playing on my mind. Next, Jockemeyer. I'm sure you looked this up by now, but it was Wendy Carlos. I didn't look it up. The name came to me afterwards. Yeah, Wendy Carlos, who did Clockwork Orange, along with original Tron and Switched on Bach. The Switched on Bach album was incredible. And I seem to recall, was she still called Wendy Carlos with Clockwork Orange. I think she was by then. But anyway, yeah. So Wendy Carlos, fantastic composer, producer, everything, musician. Zombo. Oh, by the way, Dom, sometimes I ask a question with a link and it doesn't show up. I can send you a picture if necessary. Boom. High five. I did reply saying, that's weird. I don't have any held for review or spam, but I believe you. Let me know, other people, if you have the same. I don't know if it's a YouTube only thing. But maybe best if you want to put a link in a comment, because it would be likely to come up as spam on something like YouTube, I would have thought. So the best bet is probably post your comment and then reply to your own comment with the link. Maybe that'll work. I don't know. And finally, Deadly Custard. Boom. High five. That is it, my friends. We are under half an hour, which is a rarity these days. So if you've made it this far in, you deserve an award. And to prove you've made it this far in, comment the word election, because Jeremy Corbyn on the election campaign trail watch live is in my recommended videos. So yeah, have a good weekend. Any boxing fans and UFC fans, you will definitely enjoy your weekend. And that is it. I'll see you same time next week. Yes, I will. I'm just double checking because we're getting close to Christmas now. But yeah, I seem to recall Christmas is uninterrupted by these AMAs, so that's good. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you next week. Cheers.